Antonio Iozzo, founder and CEO of Alpha Insure. Thank you so much for joining me. Your first book, Slaying the Dragon, was an intimate, raw account of building a business while facing and overcoming addiction. In Slaying the Standard, you shift gears to a tactical operating manual focused on execution, discipline, and raising the bar. It's clear this isn't about fluffy motivation, but about method, precision, and leadership by example. Let's dig into the core of your philosophy.
Okay.
In your first book, you dealt with conquering personal demons, while this new book is about conquering mediocrity. Many people know your story, but for those who don't, maybe we can touch very high level on what Slay the Dragon was all about.
So, Slaying the Dragon was first and foremost about my oxy addiction and how I got addicted following a serious motorcycle accident. And then just really how I managed to hold my life together, grow my businesses. But it was a real personal account of how traumatic that experience was. First, how I tried to hide my addiction from my family, from work colleagues, and then how I started to actually come out of it was to first actually come out and not be ashamed of being an addict. And one of the main reasons I wrote it was in 2018, when I had my accident. I don't think many people in South Africa knew what oxy was and how dangerous it was. But once I had been through this ordeal, when you look at any of the documentaries on oxycodone, it really makes it look like this addiction is for poorer communities, especially in the States when they highlight it. And it really doesn't discriminate. It can get anybody, anytime, anywhere. I just think any person in a position of power or prominent person in the community or media figure is definitely not going to come out and say they're an addict. Fear of reputational harm, what will people think? And I wrote the book because I really wanted to come out and say, listen, this drug is really dangerous. It can catch anybody. It caught me. And really just to make people aware of what it does and how it can really ruin your life, your family, your business. And
a quick question, in what way did it help you to come out? So was it a matter of accountability, that people held you accountable and supported you? What do you think was the big help once you revealed it?
I think it was just trying to hide it was really a big job. Putting on a facade when you're really dying inside and you in withdrawals and you sweating and you're depressed and the last place you actually want to be is at work, yet you're there working and just putting on a facade, that took a lot of energy. And I think when I came out, and especially to my senior management team, and I mean, when I did, I really broke down and I was crying in front of them and I was basically emotionally drained. It was 5 years of addiction. Many times I thought about suicide. It was a real thought that seems to haunt you and that thought arrives more often as the addiction gets worse. And I just think coming out and the support that I got from my staff, from my family, at the end of the day, as an addict, no one can really help you but yourself. At the end of the day, as much as you got the support around you, you really have to do the hard work. And it is difficult. Coming out of getting off that was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do in my life. And from the time that I came up with the process of how to get off, it still took me another 18 months to get off.
Wow. For those who have not read the book, it is 100% worth it. And there's so many lessons to learn. Book number 2. What was the
Yeah,
catalyst that made you write Slaying the Standard as the natural follow-up?
I think so many people end up settling for mediocrity. They just end up compromising a lot. And I think it's easy to compromise. It's really hard to hold the standard. And Slaying the Standard is really all the principles and, let's say, my moral compass that I live by and I try and instill in my staff, how I run my businesses, how I've managed to grow them, all the mistakes that I've made and the lessons that I've learnt, which have all culminated in what I call the standard system that I developed while I was writing the book. And it's not a novel. It's not something that you just read cover to cover. It really is a field manual. Each chapter can be applied all on its own. And I really just think it's a hands-on guide on really sound principles to live by and to run your business by.
Why do you think so many people, whether in business or personally, fall into the trap of lowering these standards? I think we see it more and more, it feels.
I first think you got to see what type of standard a person has, because you are a product of your environment over time. So your standard is really set by all your life experiences. So it really depends where your starting point is. And then most people don't even know what their standard is or whether their standard is correct. Should they be striving for more, not settling? I really live by the principle that you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. There's no such thing as staying still or stagnating. So for me, I'm always pushing the boundaries. My version of, and one of my first chapters is striving for perfection while knowing that I'll never achieve it. My version of perfection has also changed over time, which is also a product of my environment over time. So I keep pushing the standard at Alpha, and I mentor my staff for them to understand that what is good today and what we're doing really well today is not necessarily going to carry us through tomorrow.
Talking about mentors, did you have mentors in your life? Do you have mentors in your life?
No, I didn't have any mentors in my life. I just think everything that I've learned, I don't think I was born with any special skill set. I think I've just learned to survive, and a lot of the skills that I have today were out of necessity for survival.
Yeah.
And really trying to apply the principle that I try and only make the mistake once and learn from that.
Yeah. You write from experience, not theories. Could you share one story from your own journey where refusing to lower your standards changed the trajectory of your business or something in your personal life?
I would say I'll give you a really good example in the business. At Alpha, I think we went through a period where it would have been really easy when a lot of insurance companies were giving out binders to brokers and delegating authority to brokers to do a lot of work on behalf of insurance companies. It would have been really easy for me to start delegating authority and taking on a lot of business because a lot of brokers want to work on their own system. The problem for an insurer is that the minute you give up your data and you're not in control of your data, it will start creating huge problems for you, especially when it comes time for you having to do your reinsurance submission and they start wanting to drill down into your data. And when you're not in control of your data, you're sort of making decisions 90 days in arrears. You know, when you're getting, because systems don't talk to each other.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, for me, being in control of my data has been a principle that I've stuck to since the beginning, since I started the business. Where that really changed the trajectory of the business is when I was started traveling overseas, starting to try and get different reinsurers on my panel, and starting to really try and grow my insurance capacity. And it was told to me by many of the reinsurers that the only reason they were backing me is because I had such granular data, that I was in control of my own data. And today, Alpha we are the largest capacity provider in South Africa. So it really did change the trajectory of where Alpha went and where we are today.
I think a lesson for quite a few people listening now. You're
Yeah,
clear
I
that
think
this...
and I think it would have been easy to compromise.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of business was on the table for me, but it would have meant me giving up a lot of control over the data. And without controlling the data, you really are not in control of your own business.
Yeah, there's a whole discussion about whose client it is, even then, but it seems like the lines are somewhat blurry when it's not your own system anymore, right?
Yeah, I just think especially when you are on risk and it's your capital on the line, you really do need to understand your clients. You need to know how to look after them. And I think that's where our whole risk management philosophy started, in trying to add value outside of our claims paying ability. So the surveying, the quantity surveying, value at risk, there's been a lot of things that we add.
You're clear that your book isn't about motivation, but about method. How do you define the difference, and why do you believe discipline always beats motivation?
So motivation is quite emotional, and you can one day really be motivated, and I think your environment around you plays a big factor in whether you are motivated or not motivated. And if motivation is going to be your driving force, you are really going to be having up peaks and troughs. And when you're really motivated, you're going to do a lot of things, and you're going to be really empowered to get work done. Something goes wrong in your life and your motivation drops. All of a sudden, your standard drops with it, and it really isn't consistent. Discipline is really a set of standards that you put in place for yourself, regardless of how you feel. And I think I really learned that the most when I went through my addiction to drugs. And I set a set of rules for myself on how I needed to live. One of them was making sure that I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I went to gym regardless of how I felt. And there were just certain rules and a certain discipline that I had to apply, because I knew that if I didn't, I would really just slide backwards. And so discipline will always carry you through the good times and the bad times. If you have a standard to follow and you stick to it, you'll follow that whether you're motivated or not motivated, and you'll find that in your worst times, when you really aren't motivated, it's that discipline that keeps you steady and on the right road.
You're definitely a black and white person, right? It's either wrong or it's... So some people are not, and maybe I can say that I'm not necessarily a very black and white person. Does this make the discipline versus motivation a little bit of a more challenging thing, or easier for the one than for the other?
Listen, I wouldn't say I'm black and white. I mean, the thing is that a lot of business is operated in the gray. You know, a lot of the time, and we'll use an example. When you look at a policy wording and you want to interpret a policy wording, you can interpret it black or white, but then how you look after your client and how you look after your broker will come down to what you do in the gray area, and whether you start looking at business relationships and what is important for your business, your reputation. And so it's not cut and dry. I still think you have to have a standard that you get your company and your business to understand that this is the level that we want to put out into the market, into the public forum. My standards are just really high. I strive to push out the best possible product that I can into the market. I think our reputation is something that we guard really, really carefully. And yeah, black, white, grey doesn't mean you can't have a standard that you live by.
Okay. You say in your book you don't need to run a business to find value in this book. So what are some ways an individual working inside a company, perhaps not at the top, can apply when reading the book Slaying the Standards to their everyday role?
So I mean, all the principles that are inside that book really work for your personal life. They work for your business life. It will work in your marriage. They are really just sound principles. They're not business. I mean, some of the things, I'll give the examples of where I've applied them in business. But they could have very easily been an example that was applied in my personal life. And I think things like EQ are really things that you can apply in your personal life too, on how to read the room, how to understand body language. These are all skills that you can learn. And like I said, a lot of these are skill sets that I've learned, or principles that I've learned to apply, and I've seen the outcome of applying them. And a lot of them carry through into my personal life. So it's not that these are the standards that I live by at work, and then when I get home, all of a sudden I've got another set. So it's for everybody. I really believe that the book is for everybody. Anyone that wants to do better, wants to raise their level, it really is a guide that can show you how.
A random question. When you interview people to work at Alpha Insure, what for you are the most important things that you look at? Is it qualification? Is it EQ? Is it attitude? What really stands out for you?
So qualifications is right at the bottom of the list. I don't even look at qualifications. I know in our industry that I have to get my staff qualified, but for me, degree, matric certificate or no matric certificate is not going to be the reason why I hire someone or don't hire them. Attitude, cultural fit. Cultural fit, I'd probably say, is one of the most important things I look at. Drive. And what I have learned, especially because I take a lot of kids, every year I'll onboard probably 10 or 15 kids straight out of school, or they haven't even finished school. And it's not that they're not going to study. They do have to study. We put them through the NQF. If they don't have a matric, we'll do a bridging matric. Then we'll get them onto the NQF level 4, the RE. And then we move them onto the NQF level 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can convert your 8 into a BCom in risk management. So there is a journey, but at the end of the day, attitude, cultural fit. And I've proven it time and time again. I can take a kid that to the outside world, an analogy, looks like a turkey. And I can take that kid and put him with a group of eagles. And in a short amount of time, that turkey turns into an eagle. And it really is, you are the product of your environment. And if I put that person in the right environment, and they've got the right attitude and the right team around them, it's amazing how people shine. So some of my best staff members are my younger guys. And that's why, like I was telling you earlier, 65% of my business the ages under 35.
Sure. You end in your book, you mention it's a standard you choose. So what do you want readers to feel or maybe to do the moment they've put your book down? They've been on your journey, they haven't read it once off, they've got the book. What do you want to see?
I would want the reader firstly to be a bit uncomfortable with my book is really quite a punchy book. I don't hold back.
Love it.
I'm not trying to impress people. It's the standard that I apply in my business and I'm putting it across. It's stories from the trenches. I definitely am a hands-on business owner. I'm in the trenches with my staff. And when they put that book down, I would want them to reevaluate where are they when it comes to applying certain of the standards. And if you look at the book, each chapter, at the end of each chapter has got a set of maybe 4 to 5 questions that you really need to ask yourself, and it's got a place for notes, where if you're really honest with yourself, it will say, where am I falling short in this section? What can I do today? And it really is about changing, not changing tomorrow. It's about what can I start right now, this minute? What can I start changing to improve myself? And it gives you all the tools to do it. So it's not a case of all of a sudden you're going to try and apply the standard system in your life. It's about just choosing one thing at a time and saying, okay, I think I really fall short in this area. This is where I'm going to focus on at the moment. And how do you eat an elephant? One small spoon at a time. That's exactly how you need to tackle this book. It's got a lot of great principles. You definitely are not going to be able to apply them all at once.
I assume everyone in your company had to read the book.
Well, they've only got the book recently because it was only launched last week, Thursday.
That's right.
So
yeah.
they've all got a copy.
Okay.
I think they will read it. I think it's really good. It's got really sound principles. And I think a lot of the stories my staff will be able to associate with because they lived them with me.
Yeah.
Which is really quite nice. If you look at like my rules of engagement, my customer service quotes that we live by, all of those things that have been in my business for years are all in the book. So a lot of the staff will, on different chapters, will realize, oh, we're already doing that. And that's something that's new, or this is exactly what we're doing in the business at the moment. And it is hard to hold the standard because it is easy to compromise. You know, to compromise is it's not a cop-out. I think when pressure is really on, sometimes it's too hard for some people to hold the standard. And I think that's where you really build your character.
100%. And you don't have to answer this. I wanted to ask you if you are a nice boss to work for, but I think that answer is going to vary a lot in your business.
I think like any business owner, you have to know when to be tough. You have to know when to be soft. And I think that's really where EQ plays a really big part in my business. One big thing that I've started now, I think you guys, I've spoken about it before, where fitness and health has really been a big part of my business and bringing fitness into the workplace. Another thing that I've just started recently is wellness, mind wellness. And a lot of businesses don't really want their staff to bring their problems to work, especially their personal problems. I've realized that those problems come to work whether you like it or not. And so I have hired and I've started a new division, which is really dedicated to staff mental wellness. And I'm really wanting to let my staff know that if they're going through any personal issues at the company, we definitely want to be able to help and assist them. So just something new.
Nice boss.
I can be both.
Antonio, it was great chatting. Maybe a last parting word, the
Yes.
FAnews audience.
So I think business is definitely a journey. It's filled with your good times and your bad times. And when I first started out in business, I used to always think to myself, I wish I could just have a year where there was just no shit, no stuff going wrong. And eventually I realized that in business, stuff goes wrong all the time. And if you learn to be happy in the shit, it's a good place to be, because there's good times and bad times and they overlap all the time. And if your attitude in business is going to be affected by what's happening in your business at any given time, your emotions are going to be up and down all the time. So to try and be consistent, you need to know that it's good and bad and it's all mixed together.
Thank you. That is a good last word. And then a quick mention about the fact that I've heard rumors about book number 3. So I'm sure we will have another interview as soon as that one comes out.
Book number 3, and I mean, I definitely am not a writer by nature, but book number 3 is something that I've been busy with in my mind since my son probably hit grade 8, when I started looking at the school curriculum and just looking that our kids are taught the same thing that our grandparents were taught. And if you look at unemployment, and especially youth unemployment in South Africa, and you look at what we teach our kids, everyone says, get a matric, go get a degree, follow this path, and then go out into the world. The problem is that there are no jobs. And I think the number one thing that we should be raising up is entrepreneurs. And I think we need to start raising them up in school. And I've put together a whole program where kids from grade 10, apart from putting together a business plan and coming up with a product, schools partner with banks and corporates to open up bank accounts. They end up starting a business, running their own books. And by the time they leave matric, they probably would have started and failed and maybe succeeded between 3 and 5 times. Entrepreneurship is not something that is special. You're not born an entrepreneur. It's definitely something
I thought I was born an entrepreneur.
No, it's definitely something that you learn. And I just think that we make it really scary for kids to think that they could possibly start their own business and be successful. And there are really stories all over South Africa about kids that are already entrepreneurs. Kids fixing cell phone cases, fixing bicycles, polishing shoes. And if we could get our kids to experience what it means to run a business and to fail and to succeed, all in a controlled environment before they leave school, how many more entrepreneurs and business owners would we have in this country? And then they in turn will create jobs and hire people. So I don't believe we're going to fix our unemployment by just getting people to go and get degrees. There is a place for that, but I think there's a definite place for getting people to believe in themselves.
I love it. That is really ending on a positive note. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Renette.
We will catch up soon.
Most definitely. Thanks so much for the time.
Thank you.